I still remember the sound of my mother-in-law's voice echoing down the hall. "This woman doesn't even know how to boil an egg." Everyone laughed, loud, ugly laughter, in my own house. Actually, let me correct that. In the house I bought. In cash. 3 weeks before. What they didn't know is that I wasn't just some pretty ornament they could hang on their family tree. I was the one holding every card. And they had just played themselves right out of the game. So when they woke up the next morning and found security guards at the front gate with removal orders, well, let's just say I made sure they remembered exactly who I was. My name is Olivia Winters. I'm 34. For the past decade, I've run one of the most boring yet highly profitable logistics firms on the West Coast. Freight management, supply chain optimization, the kind of work that makes people's eyes glaze over at dinner parties, which is exactly how I like it. I don't talk about money, not because I'm humble. I just like watching people show their real faces when they think I have none. I married Ethan 3 years ago. Charming man, sharp dresser, had that confident swagger that people mistake for actual leadership. He was a lawyer, upper middle class family, good teeth, nice manners when it suited him, but as the months passed, his family crept into our life like slow-growing mold. His mother, Darlene, country club mean with a smile that could cut glass. His sister, Paige, an influencer with 12 followers and even less dignity. Then came the uncles, the cousins, 2 aunts with opinions about everything, all of them living off a shared delusion that they were some kind of old money royalty. I ignored the snide comments at first. The little digs about my nouveau riche taste. The way they'd exchange glances when I talked about work. The subtle corrections about which fork to use, which wine to order, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. A month ago, Ethan suggested we go away. Just the 2 of us. A romantic reset, he called it. No work, no phones, just us and the mountain air. It sounded perfect. I'd been pulling 12-hour days and he'd been growing more distant by the week. So I agreed, but I made a small decision of my own. Instead of renting some cozy cabin like he suggested, I bought an estate. Quietly. Through a shell company I'd set up years ago for exactly these kinds of purchases. 8 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, stone fireplaces, wine cellar, the works. I needed the privacy anyway. And I liked the idea of having somewhere to disappear to when city life got too suffocating. I wired $3.4 million. No mortgage, no financing. Just clean, simple paperwork buried in a stack of LLC documents. When we pulled up to the circular driveway, Ethan's jaw dropped. "This is much nicer than I expected," he said, like he'd personally upgraded our accommodations. What he didn't tell me was that he'd invited his family too. They started arriving within the hour. One by one, loud, obnoxious, self-important. His mother swept in first, arms wide, hugging me like I was some charity case she'd decided to adopt. "Oh, honey, this place is just darling. So rustic." Rustic. The house had heated marble floors. Paige arrived next, immediately pulling out her phone to film herself walking through the foyer. "Guys, this is literally like a movie set. I'm getting such Hamptons vibes." The Hamptons. We were in the mountains of Northern California. Then came Cousin Kyle, who walked straight to the kitchen and asked where the servants were. Uncle Brent, who helped himself to a cigar from my humidor. Aunt Martha, who rearranged my bookshelf because the colors were all wrong. By evening, I counted 11 people. 11 people Ethan had invited to our romantic getaway without mentioning it once. "Surprise," he said, kissing my cheek. I thought it would be fun to have everyone together. Fun, right. By day 2, I was invisible. They left their dirty dishes on every surface. Used my silk robes as towels. Aunt Martha reorganized my spice cabinet. Cousin Kyle ate directly from containers in the refrigerator, leaving them empty and putting them back. Someone let my dog out. My 10-year-old golden retriever, Marcus, who'd never been in the mountains before. He came back 3 hours later, muddy and exhausted, but he came back. That was their first and final warning. They laughed at everything I did. My morning yoga routine was too intense. My choice of breakfast was too healthy. My work calls were too masculine. Darlene made sure to educate me about how successful women need to be careful not to intimidate their husbands. Men like to feel needed, she informed me. This while I was literally paying for their groceries. Paige filmed herself making coffee in my kitchen, talking to her camera about learning from women who'd made it. Like I was some inspirational case study instead of her host. The worst part, Ethan watched it all happen. Every slight, every dismissal, every moment they treated me like hired help in my own house. When I mentioned it, he'd wave me off. They don't mean anything by it. You're just being sensitive. Sensitive. Right. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I smiled. I nodded. I poured more wine. Because I had a plan. Night 4. We were all seated around the dining table. Massive oak piece I'd personally selected from an estate sale in Napa. Seats 12 comfortably. Paige was in the middle of filming herself eating, talking about authentic family moments, when she looked straight at me. You know what I love about this place? It's so funny how some women marry up, while others just buy property to pretend they belong somewhere. The table went quiet for exactly 2 seconds. Then everyone laughed. Everyone except me. Ethan was practically choking on his wine, he was laughing so hard. I set down my fork. You're all guests here. A little respect would be nice. The laughter died. Ethan turned to me with that condescending smile I'd grown to hate spreading across his face. Respect goes to people who earn it, Liv. Let's be honest. Without my family's connections, you're just another uptight pretty face with a bank account and 0 social skills. Silence. I finished my wine. Set the glass down carefully. Stood up slowly. Okay, then let's see what I am without your family. I walked upstairs. Made 3 phone calls. Sent 2 emails. Took a long hot shower. Went to bed early. At 6:45 the next morning, 2 black SUVs pulled up the circular driveway. Private security. The kind that doesn't ask questions, just follows instructions. A 3rd car followed. My lawyer, David Chen. Princeton educated. Ruthlessly efficient. Worth every penny of his $800 hourly rate. I watched from the upstairs window as they approached the front door. Perfect timing. Everyone would be awake but not yet dressed. Vulnerable. Off balance. The doorbell rang, then rang again. I heard Ethan's confused voice downstairs. What the hell? I took my time getting dressed. Silk blouse, tailored pants. The pearl necklace my grandmother left me. If I was going to ruin lives before breakfast, I wanted to look the part. By the time I came downstairs, the entire family was clustered in the foyer. Pajamas, messy hair, confused faces. David was standing in the center, briefcase in hand, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. The security team flanked the doors. Good morning, everyone, I said, my voice cheerful. I see you've met David. Darlene stepped forward, clutching her robe. We're not going anywhere, sweetheart. David cleared his throat. Actually, ma'am, you are. This is a legal notice to vacate the premises. You have 90 minutes to collect your belongings and leave. That's ridiculous. Paige said, her phone already out recording. This is harassment. No. David said calmly, pulling out a thick folder. This is property law. Miss Winters is the sole owner of this estate, purchased outright 3 weeks ago. She has the legal right to remove any and all guests at her discretion. He handed Darlene a copy of the deed. Her face went white as she read it. This can't be real, she whispered. It's very real, David said. purchased through Winters Holdings LLC for $3.4 million. Cash transaction, no mortgage, no co-signers. Miss Winters's name is the only one on the deed. Uncle Brent stepped forward, his face red. You can't just kick us out. We have rights. Actually, you don't, David said. You're guests. Invited guests who are no longer welcome. If you're not off the property in 90 minutes, it becomes trespassing. Ethan, Darlene said, turning to her son. Do something. Ethan looked at me. Really looked at me. Maybe for the first time in months. Liv, he said softly. Come on, this is crazy. Is it? I asked. You brought them here without asking. You let them treat me like garbage in my own house. You laughed when they mocked me. You told me I was just a pretty face with money. I walked to the window looking out at the mountains, so I thought I'd show you what a pretty face with money can actually do. Paige was crying now. Real tears, not the fake ones she used for her videos. You're destroying a family. I'm cleaning my house, I said. Kyle tried a different approach. Look, we're sorry if we offended you. We were just joking around. 87 minutes, David announced, checking his watch. That's when the begging started. Darlene offered to cook me dinner every night for a month. Paige promised to feature me in her social media. Uncle Brent said he'd give me stock tips. Aunt Martha offered to redecorate my city apartment for free. All of them talking at once, voices overlapping, promises piling up like desperate prayers. I listened to it all from my spot by the window, sipping coffee that Maria had made perfectly, watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold. 75 minutes, David called out. They scattered like ants, racing upstairs to pack, shouting at each other, blaming everyone except themselves. Ethan was the last to move. He stood in the foyer staring at me. I never knew you could be this cold, he said. I never knew you could be this weak, I replied. He flinched like I'd slapped him. Are you coming with us? This is my house. Where exactly would I go? He packed in silence, threw clothes into suitcases, grabbed his toiletries, left behind the watch I'd bought him for our anniversary. The security team loaded their cars. 11 people who'd arrived like conquering heroes leaving like refugees. I stood on the stone steps watching the convoy disappear down the mountain road. The silence that followed was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. That afternoon, I called my assistant. I need you to set up a meeting with that real estate agent in Sonoma. I want to look at vineyards. Vineyards, she asked. Yes, I think it's time to diversify. I filed for divorce 2 days later. Clean break, no alimony, no drama. The prenup I'd insisted on made everything simple. Ethan called once. Can we talk about this? Talk to my lawyer, I said and hung up. I transferred the deed to my personal name, had the house professionally cleaned, then I did absolutely nothing with it. For 3 months, the estate sat empty. 8 bedrooms gathering dust, 10 bathrooms echoing with silence. I paid for maintenance, security, utilities. Thousands of dollars a month to keep a house I never visited. Because I could. Because every dollar I spent on that empty house was a dollar Ethan's family knew I had, and they didn't. Every month they drove past those locked gates was a reminder of what they'd lost. Petty, absolutely. Satisfying, you have no idea. I hired Maria, a local woman who'd worked for hotels in the area. Not to manage guests, just to make sure the house stayed perfect and empty. She'd send me photos every week. Spotless rooms, fresh flowers that no one would see. Meals prepared for no one. During one of our calls, Maria mentioned it seemed wasteful to keep such a beautiful place empty. That's exactly the point, I told her. The real entertainment came from watching them squirm. Ethan started calling after the first month. Liv, this is insane. You're spending a fortune on a house you don't even use. It's my money, I'd say and hang up. Darlene tried a different approach. She'd drive up the mountain road park outside the gates and just sit there. For hours. Like some kind of grieving widow visiting a grave. Maria would call me. She's back. Should I call the police? No, let her sit. Take pictures, though. I collected quite a portfolio. Darlene in her car staring at the house she'd never see again. Sometimes she brought sandwiches. Made it a whole-day trip. The town started talking. Small mountain communities love gossip, and the story of the rich woman who bought a mansion just to keep it empty was irresistible. At the local grocery store, people would stare when I came through. Whisper behind their hands. That's her. The one with the empty house. I'd smile and buy the most expensive wine they had. 3 months in, Kyle got desperate. He showed up at my office in the city. Somehow talked his way past security. I found him sitting in my waiting room like he belonged there. Olivia, he said, standing when he saw me. We need to talk. No, we don't. It's about the house. I stopped. What about it? I want to buy it. The audacity was breathtaking. You want to buy my house? I'll pay fair market value, maybe a little over. I know how much that place means to the family. How much do you think it's worth? He straightened his tie. 2 million, maybe 2.5. I paid 3.4. His face fell. Oh, well, I could probably go to 3. Where would you get $3 million, Kyle? He shifted uncomfortably. I've got investors, people who believe in the project. What project? Turning it into a retreat center. For men. Executive training. That kind of thing. I almost laughed. Almost. Get out of my office. I had him escorted from the building. That's when things got interesting. Word got around that the family was trying to buy back the house. Suddenly, I started getting calls. Real estate agents, developers, even a hotel chain all asking if I might be interested in selling. I'd let them talk. Let them make their pitches, their increasingly desperate offers. 4 million, 4.5. 5 million cash closing in 30 days. To every single one, I'd say the same thing: I'm not selling. The offers kept coming. The family kept watching. And I kept paying to maintain an empty house just because I could. By winter, the local newspaper ran a story. Mystery Millionaire's Empty Mansion, a symbol of wealth's waste. They interviewed townspeople, got quotes about housing shortages and economic inequality. Real hard-hitting journalism. The reporter called me for comment. Miss Winter's people are saying your empty house represents everything wrong with wealth inequality. How do you respond? It's my house, I said. I'll do whatever I want with it. The article painted me as exactly what you'd expect. Cold, heartless, out of touch. I framed it and hung it in my office. But the attention brought unexpected visitors. Miss Winters. Maria said one afternoon, "There's a woman at the gate. Says she's your sister-in-law." Paige, of course. I watched through the security cameras as she paced outside the gate. Designer handbag. Fresh highlights. Clearly doing better than Ethan had led me to believe. Tell her I'm not available, I said. But Paige was persistent. She came back the next day. And the day after that. On the 4th day, curiosity got the better of me. Let her in, I told Maria. But stay close. Paige walked up the stone steps like she owned them. Same entitled stride. Same fake smile. Olivia. She said, arms wide for a hug I didn't return. You look wonderful. What do you want, Paige? Her smile faltered. Can't I just visit my sister-in-law? Ex-sister-in-law, and no, you can't. She glanced around the foyer. The fresh flowers. The polished marble. The same space where her family had been humiliated 6 months earlier. Look, she said, dropping the act. We need to talk business. Business. Interesting. I'm listening. This whole empty house thing you've got going. It's brilliant, really. And I have a proposition. I waited. I could be your social media manager, content creator. I know how to reach your target demographic. Young women, entrepreneurs, girl boss energy. I could triple your visibility. The audacity was breathtaking. You want me to hire you? I want us to help each other. Family should stick together. We're not family anymore. Her face hardened. Right, because you destroyed that. I cleaned house. You ruined lives. I walked to the window, the same spot where I'd stood that morning watching them leave. How's Ethan doing? He's struggling, obviously. Lost his wife, his home, his confidence. He's a lawyer with a trust fund. He'll survive. Will he? Because he's been drinking. A lot. And he blames himself. Good, I thought. But I didn't say it. That's unfortunate. Paige stepped closer. You could fix this, you know. Take him back. Forgive the family. We could all start over. Why would I do that? Because deep down you know we're good people. We made mistakes, sure. But we're family. I turned to face her. You called me a social climber in my own house. Your mother said I didn't deserve respect. Your cousin asked for servants. Your uncle stole my cigars. You were just yourselves, and yourselves were terrible. Her composure cracked. You can't just write off an entire family. Watch me. She tried a different approach. Tears, real ones this time. Please, Olivia. Ethan's a mess. Mom's health is failing from the stress. The family's falling apart. Sounds like a them problem. How can you be so heartless? I walked to the door, opened it. Maria will see you out. Paige didn't move. This isn't over. Yes, it is. People talk, you know, about what you did, about who you really are. Let them talk. They say you're vindictive, cruel, that you enjoy destroying families. I smiled. They're probably right. She left without another word. That night, the text messages started coming more frequently. Paige told us about your conversation. You haven't changed. Still the same cold bitch. I blocked the numbers. They found new ones. We're watching you. Your business won't last forever. What goes around comes around. I hired additional security, updated the camera system, had my lawyer send cease and desist letters. But I kept every message, screenshots, phone records, a growing file of evidence, because something told me this was just the beginning. Last week I got a call from Maria. Miss Winters, there's been an incident. Someone left flowers at the gate. Dead flowers. With a note. The note was simple. For the widow of our family. Widow, not divorcee, widow. I hung up and made a phone call. The same number I'd called that morning 6 months ago. David, it's Olivia. I need to see you today. Because apparently they'd forgotten the most important lesson from our last encounter. I don't just clean house once. I save every single message, just in case I need to make another phone call.